This is the second session for the day, and this session is titled The Way Forward. So following on from the first session, Productivity, the Big Picture, we have a constellation of stars coming up to present for you. The focus, though, is moving from the what to the how. How do you do it? What are the tools? What are the techniques? What are the opportunities for people to make this change? And Colin had the lovely saying that says, hope is not a method, hope is not a strategy. What you need is a plan. So my name's Alan Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of the Hargreaves Institute, and I've had a great pleasure working with the Productivity Unit at ACCI, and very excited about the work and the plan and the future, because I think they've actually got a great one, and I encourage you to really get involved. So with that, I'd like to invite Peter to come. So we're going to have each of the speakers present, and then we're going to have a panel session at the end. Peter.
Thank you very much, Alan, and we are going to move into the how, having been challenged this morning. And just a couple of things that are running through my mind that I'll certainly see as takeaways just from our last hour and a half, with Roy Green challenging us with the proposition that if we are a high economy, we have to be in that top tier of performers. Because we're a high-cost economy. And Peter Harris putting it in 3 words, adjust or exit. I thought that was a very direct way of challenging Australian industry. And of course, Brad McBean's last comments about allowing failure and needing a culture which allows failure in order to understand success and experience it. What powerful messages to think through as we work through today and in the following days. And as we've heard from those 3 presenters, boosting productivity is absolutely vital to underpinning our economic growth and future prosperity. And it's the sum total of the productivity improvements that we put in place in our workplaces which will determine whether in aggregate Australia is indeed keeping up with our international competitors. And as the largest and most representative business organisation, it is vital that the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry plays an important role in boosting productivity and working with industry to that end. And therefore, with the assistance of the Commonwealth Government, we have established this productivity leadership program, and it does point to the way forward. So, it is a new initiative for ACCI. When I welcomed delegates here at the workshop on Tuesday, I said that I jumped at the idea of forming a productivity unit once we were given the chance 12 months ago. And we jumped at it because, as important as it is to do the work that you saw us do yesterday, the advocacy work, climbing the steep mountain to challenge our political class, our bureaucracy, our regulators, our enforcement agencies, with understanding and giving space to private enterprise to be free enterprise. As important as all that work is, there is a real opportunity, indeed responsibility, inside industry. And to the extent that industry itself can take control of its agenda. It's an agenda that has to be driven around innovation, around management, and around the capability of exchanging ideas to lift our productivity. So the Productivity Leadership Program was established. It commenced as a operating unit in the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry's National Secretariat from the 1st of January this year. The assistance from the federal government through the Federal Department for Employment, Education and Workplace Relations was central to its establishment, and I acknowledge their assistance and the assistance of senior executives of the department right up front. It is a vitally important opportunity for our members. the business associations of Australia are the conduit between what governments and the system delivers up and what businesses can do and have to grapple with. And our business organisations are faced with multiple competitive challenges in our own right. And part of meeting those competitive challenges is to be directly relevant and to offer new services and to translate existing services into value-added products. And so the opportunity exists with what we're doing here at ACCI for our member organisations, those state and territory chambers across the country, and the 30 industry associations that join with them, to actually become leaders in this product, in servicing businesses on lifting productivity. That is a great opportunity. Maximum benefit in our work will be achieved through engagement and collaboration. That is in the DNA of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's in the DNA of our business model. Bringing our members together, bringing thought leaders together, bringing experiences together and sharing that collaboration. Bringing people who are intrinsically competitors together so they can take what is necessary from thought leadership and move into challenging themselves, both with the challenge of allowing failure, but also, hopefully, the opportunity of experiencing success. So, what we've been able to do is to establish a productivity unit which comprises not just thought leadership and ideas, but also our people. Zoe Piper, as many of you have met, is managing our productivity unit. The Zoe's biography is in the handbook that's been sent around, and I commend it to you. Inside our secretariat, there are a number of other senior officers who you will interact with that form our productivity unit. Jenny Lambert is our Director of Employment Education and Training, and Jenny is not just a person who herself has operated industry associations, but she is a person who is now working closely with our members in one critical pathway to productivity, and that is employment education and training. John Osborne, our Chief Operating Officer, is providing corporate oversight of the work of the productivity unit. And Leanne Horton, one of our senior executive operators, senior executive administrative staff, is providing logistical support as well as some strategic input into the work of the unit. We also have established a governance structure around the work of our productivity unit, and it's comprising a number of you who are here today. David Goodwin, many of you know. David is chairing the Board of Management of the Productivity Unit. David is a former president of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry Queensland, himself a successful small business person in the state of Queensland in the import and export markets. Terry Weatherall, president of the New South Wales Business Chamber. Myself. Scott Barklam. Scott, who was here yesterday as a presenter in one of the workshops, and who many of you also know. Scott is a person who's had experience both in the West Australian government, but especially in the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry on workplace and labour relations issues, but then took that globally and in recent years became a global leader of employer organisations, especially throughout the Asian region, but also beyond, in working with them on global strategies associated with lifting labour productivity. Tim Friedrich. Tim, a long-term senior advisor to federal ministers who left his work with Minister Chris Evans earlier this year. Tim is a person who has tremendous credentials in the skills and training area, and being an interface on so many government projects and programs where skills investment occurs, often not to full value. But we brought him, once he's left the government, into our Productivity Units Board of Management to add his value and insights. I mentioned Jenny and I mentioned John. So that's how we're organising our people around the work of the Productivity Unit in our Secretariat. But our Productivity Unit's not just comprised of our people internally. Fundamentally, it is about our members. One of the first things that Zoe did when the Productivity Unit was established was to undertake an environmental scan of what was happening in our member organisations on productivity issues. And what she found was that there was a rich amount of work being undertaken by business organisations, by both chambers and the industry bodies. And she's pulled a lot of that together. There are research projects that have been and are being undertaken, surveys and benchmarking, diagnostic tools, online and in-person training. And in addition, there's also been a range of direct business consultancies undertaken by our member organisations. So we don't start from scratch, and that's a great advantage in what we're doing. We're starting with mature organisations who are already involved in this work, so we can help to add value rather than establish the foundations. So that's tremendously encouraging. But beyond the work of our members, we have the capability of establishing some strategic partnerships. And so we see on the slide, we are working in a strategic way in developing partnerships both with our leading educational institutions but also with key players in the corporate sector, some of whom are here today. The ANU and its Productivity Research Program, the Australian Workforce and Productivity Agency, those who are bidding for the Commonwealth Government's plans to establish a Centre for Workplace Leadership, the University of Melbourne, the University of Technology Sydney, DesignGov, Enterprise Connect, an important government-related program associated with lifting innovation. IBM, Google, we'll hear from executives from those organisations in a moment, and also the CSIRO with its Digital Productivity and Services flagship program. So they are stakeholders that we form and will form alliances with, and there's many others. There's many others over the life of this project. We plan the project and the unit's work to at least be a 3 or 4 year period. Under our current arrangements with the Commonwealth Department, that's what we're looking at. That's what we have, and that's a good period to really test ourselves. Hopefully, we can create something which is even more enduring beyond that. What we're focusing on in the initial stages is working with our members on the drivers of productivity. And those of you who have been involved in the last couple of days will already have come to a sense of understanding that there's 5 drivers of productivity that we are focusing on: management and leadership, human capital development, innovation and technology, sustainability, and trade. What's important about each of those drivers is that they don't rely on government to take leadership. They all require and can be actioned by industry. But productivity issues, as Bill Healy's question this morning to Roy Green pointed out, is not just about engagement with major corporates or major global players. It's not just with the top of supply chains, it's right through the supply chain. And so it's not just a big business issue. It's an issue which gives us the opportunity to tap into one of our core strengths, your core strengths as organisations, and that is the small and medium enterprises inside those supply chains, who form 85% of your membership base. So that is an established business structure, of respected business organisations with contact into people in the supply chain who would otherwise get missed out in terms of the information flow and the networking opportunities and the leadership opportunities if it wasn't for you and the capacity of this program. So there's a lot of resource that has to go into servicing SMEs. We know that. But the productivity unit has the capability to work with you in bringing that resource out. What's also important to point out is that our productivity unit's work is not just, or can't be work which is just an extra addition to ACCI's existing advocacy work. It's not advocacy work in our productivity unit. We've got many other areas of ACCI's work which are about advocacy. It's work under the arrangements we have with the Commonwealth which is driven deeply at increasing capability of business organisations and businesses. Of course, advocacy issues are critical to having the right framework for businesses to be able to lift productivity, and they will remain fundamental parts of our external message. But the work of the productivity unit is not focused on advocacy per se. What's our strategy that we're going to apply? How to answer the question that Alan just posed as he introduced me? Well, the first thing we will do is the productivity unit will perform a coordination role, maximising those opportunities for shared learning and collaboration I mentioned. We have already started the operation of a website platform for the Productivity Leadership Program. That was launched just a few weeks ago, and those who attended the workshops on Tuesday have already seen how that website offers a range of functionality, including resource libraries, discussion groups, event calendars and the like. And it's great to see activity through that website. We just know from what I discussed yesterday, the Small Business Too Big to Ignore campaign, how an interactive website can become a very powerful tool in modern business networking. So we want this website to become an effective tool as well. And I'd encourage all members and interested stakeholders to create an account and join in the conversation on our Productivity Leadership Forum's website. Partnering with those organisations is our third methodology. And these strategic partnerships with our members and with those external providers and specialists will also be crucial. The way in which we're organising partnerships has a number of different dimensions. The core partners, associated partners and delivery partners, in very simple terms, our core partners are those people whose focus is fully directed to the spectrum of drivers that increase productivity. They are organisations which have a funded mandate for that purpose, and those organisations would be eligible to become core partners with us in this work, and the ANU is a good example of that opportunity. Associate partners are basically partners for collaboration, and those associate partners, such as IBM and Google, are organisations who are deeply involved in activities that can boost productivity amongst multiple drivers and make a valuable contribution to the work of our productivity unit. And delivery partners will be partners that we engage with for a specific specialist purpose, special purpose partners, in other words. Selected initiatives will require some external consultants, some external providers to help us, and they will be delivery partners for some of the work of the unit. the way in which our unit is going to operate and the plan for the unit. All the detail on that is set out in the Productivity Leadership Program plan that is actually in the folders. So we don't need to go through all of that. But one of the pathways, or one of the critical pathways identified in equipping businesses is a combination of economy-wide initiatives, industry-specific initiatives and innovative projects. The details are set out in the plan, but there will be opportunities for you as member organisations to work with Zoe and her team on putting forward participation in each of those areas. A range of economy-wide initiatives, some industry-specific initiatives and innovative projects. So a small number of innovative projects, a larger number of industry-specific and economy-wide initiatives will be put in place. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is a snapshot of how the productivity unit is being structured inside the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the way in which it is going to work with you as chambers and industry associations, and also engage with external partners over the course of its 3- and 4-year program. Thanks very much.